Okay, let's get going here. Again, Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Norm Tiedemann, the volunteer and program coordinator for FTC for High Tech Kids. This is our third call. We have one every month for the tournaments in that month. We have interesting 4 tournaments coming up. We have 2 in Burnsville, where across the weekend there are only about 10 teams that have not competed already this year. So most teams are repeating again at Burnsville. And then the week after that, we've got the league qualifiers up in Otsego. And in that case, all the teams are new. None of them have competed yet this year in a qualifying tournament. They've been doing their league matches. So could have some coaches here who have never been to a tournament before. And some that have been to many of them. In any case, feel free to ask questions. You can either unmute yourself or ask in person or put them in the chat. Either way, we'll get to them and answer any questions you have. So starting off, I'd like to thank you for being coaches. In my many years of working with high-tech kids as a volunteer and volunteer coordinator and now employee, I've done a variety of roles, just about every role possible, except a coach. I found coaches for my kids because that was a role I didn't want. So I really thank you very much for stepping up and doing that for the kids you have. That's excellent. And again, I should give a little shout out to our sponsors of High Tech Kids here, and specifically FTC in Minnesota. These companies are companies that put significant money into our program to really make it feasible without charging lots and lots for tournaments and for fees and everything like that. So we really appreciate these companies. All right. The basic event plan, we're fully in person. We're back to conditions pretty much pre-COVID. You can have coaches and family members in the judging rooms watching your team as they do their judging session, if your team agrees to it. Sometimes the kids don't like that, but it's fine with us. Again, you're welcome in the pits area also. Everyone is still required to wear safety glasses in the pits, but unlike past years, we're not going to be providing loaner safety glasses. We will have safety glasses and side shields for sale. The loaner glasses were just getting to be too much of a problem. Your team should also have spare safety glasses for people who are visiting the pits. I'm sure most teams have safety glasses for their kids and a few others as well. At all of our locations, facial coverings are optional. Masks are fine. Just please be respectful of everyone and their choices. Required Minnesota form. Again, since most teams at Burnsville are returning, you've done this already. You don't have to do it again. But if this is your first tournament, or if you're one of the league qualifying teams, then we need this filled out. You go to the High Tech Kids website, First Tech Challenge, and over on the right side of the FTC page, there's that links there. Go to the required forms link and fill out a demographic survey. We like to have that on the Monday preceding your event. So Burnsville, that would be this coming Monday, but you can go and do it right after this call if you want. And of course, the league qualifying teams, we need that from everybody the following week. And some people often ask, why do we ask this question, our team demographics? And it's really for our sponsors. A lot of our sponsors require us to give the demographics of the students that we are serving. Also, the number of people on your team is what we use to determine how many pins your team will receive. Consent and release form, that should be done on your first dashboard. You should have filled that out as a coach and been able to forward it to your team members and parents of your team members, and they should have been able to click through and fill that out also. If it's your first tournament, please bring a copy of that consent and release form with your team members listed on it. If there are some team members that have not filled that out or can't fill that out or it doesn't work, please have them fill out paper copies and bring those to the tournaments. Again, on our required forms page, there is a copy of the paper form there that you can fill out if you need to. So those are the 2 things we ask you to turn in. 1, electronically ahead of time, the demographic survey, and one at the tournament itself. For coaches where this is your first tournament, or league teams where this is your first tournament being judged, hopefully you all know this from the game manuals, but the portfolio is required for all judged awards. So if you want your team to be considered for any judged award, you need to turn in a portfolio. The portfolio can be relatively simple. It doesn't need to be complex. If you look through the information, you need to have a title page with your team number and team name on it. There are some other requirements to it, but it should be some short and concise summary of your team's engineering journey. The bullet here describing that is taken from the game manual. Describes what it is. It's really what the judges look through to determine awards initially. It's the only documentation that is required for the awards, including the Think Award. Think Award is now based on portfolio, not on the notebook. And of course, except for the Control Award, which has its own form that you need to fill out and submit. The portfolio may be submitted electronically ahead of time, but a paper copy must be brought to the tournament, and that is actually the copy that will be judged. It's nice if you have the time to submit it electronically, then more than one judge can be looking at the portfolio at a time, and that's what we use it for. Just when we're going through deliberations and they're looking at finalist decisions and teams, it's nice if multiple judges can look at the same portfolio, but it is not required. The paper copy is required, has to be brought to the tournament. You will turn in your paper copy and your Control Award, if you're applying for that, in your morning judging session. Then for coaches who have been around a while, the notebook is now an optional item, and the only mention of the notebook in the game manuals is the 2 bullets on this page. It could be used as a source of information for the team when the judges read through the portfolio and they have more questions. They're going to go out to pit judging, which we'll talk about in a minute or two, and ask for more information. And if your team has some sort of notebook that they can reference, great. If they have it in some other form or it's knowledge, that's great too. So again, the engineering notebook is one method of creating that documentation repository for the team. This whole change to the portfolio is because teams were spending a lot of time and actually a lot of money creating a notebook that was very fancy with, color pictures and diagrams and all that stuff. And it was detracting from really the process of doing all the stuff. And so this is more a notebook. So you can think of the notebook as possibly a day-to-day, a spiral bound notebook that you keep a track of what you do every time you meet or in all the different sessions. And your portfolio is then a summary of that. In any case, no rewards are required, require the notebook. There's no mention of them for any of the awards. Submitting documentation and other things. For qualifiers, we have a JOT form, which is a website. The link is on our webpage and will also be sent to you when you get the information about the tournament. Videos, if your team is creating a promote or compass, not control, a promote or compass video. Those are due Sunday at midnight before your event. So Burnsville, that would be this coming up Sunday. For the Otsego League teams, that would be the following Sunday. These are 2 awards that are optional that a team can create. Promote Award follows a theme for the year involving first, and the Compass Award is an award that a team gives for a mentor. They support giving the Compass Award to a mentor of theirs that have done something special. More information about that's in the game manual with the requirements of how long it can be and things like that. In any case, those are due Sunday before your weekend of tournaments. Then the following optional documents, as we talked about, are due at midnight on the day preceding your event. The judging feedback request form, the first form where you request feedback. And then optionally, as I said, a team may submit an electronic copy of the engineering portfolio if you want. Again, both of these are optional forms. They're not necessary. Anything you do submit will be deleted immediately after the tournament. We don't keep it around. The feedback forms will be filled out electronically and then returned to teams via the coach email. So we send those out the first Monday or Tuesday or maybe Wednesday after your tournament. So you'll get those via email, coaches. Jot form just looks like this. You put in your team number and team name. You acknowledge that you're sending us stuff, and then they'll pop up a little opening here for you to drag and drop a file or put in a file name or browse to get a file for your videos and or portfolio or feedback request form. Very simple. And that link's on our website now. It will also come in the email that you get about the tournament. Okay, so that's kind of all the stuff that's done a little bit before tournament. What should the team come prepared to do, to have, to present? This is just a quick kind of bullet list of what teams should be able to explain during their interview. This should be part of their initial interview and things that they should be able to provide more information to the judges on. Obviously, their strategies. Why did they do what they did? What did they plan to do? What did they set out to do? Goals, plans, process for the season. Non-technical work. What outreach, what help, what support of other teams, who they visited, who visited them, what they taught and learned. And obviously, a lot of this is going to be in the portfolio, but also the judges may be asking the team of this to explain a little bit more on it. When it comes to your robot, the autonomous mode, you know, how they work with programming, how it was built, how your robot was designed, built, controls, modifications. Again, processes and strategy are important. So what sort of strategy do you have? How did you follow that strategy? How did you change that strategy? What 3D printed parts you used, why you fabricated them. And obviously, don't forget about failures, because that's an important part of your team's growth and journey throughout the season. About the season. Okay, so that's what you come kind of prepared with. Your team should be able to explain these things. Part of your presentation should go through a lot of that. You come to a tournament, and yes, it's a long day. Yes, I know. Not much you can do about it. So this is kind of a summary of the day. Teams arrive 7:30, get set up in their pit areas. Judging interview sessions and robot inspections and field inspections and a practice round, all are kind of between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. There'll be a schedule on the website with that information when your team is actually being judged or when the inspections are. And it's just in that time slot in the morning. You can get settled in your pit. 10 o'clock, we'll have a set of practice rounds for all the teams. 10:30, there'll be a driver's meeting. This is with the head referee and the field personnel, and they'll go through things like, you know, how the process of queuing and getting the field's going to work, go over any sort of new changes or new decisions that have been made as far as the robot game. I hope some of you have been following the blog of changes and things like that. And that's a chance for you also to ask questions. If you have questions of the referees about some strategy you have or something you're doing, they will be able to explain it to you, answer your questions at that time. We'll have opening ceremonies, a quick opening ceremonies then, and kind of kick off the more public part of the day. About 11:15 or so, qualification matches will begin. We'll take a little lunch break, and then they'll continue in the afternoon, and pit judging will go on for the afternoon. At some time, once all the qualification matches are completed, we'll go to alliance selection and then the semifinals and final matches. And I'll talk a little bit more about each of these phases in the upcoming slides here. We'll have a closing ceremonies, present the awards, and then pack up and head on home. Judging sessions. What happens in those morning judging sessions? Your team is given 5 minutes of uninterrupted time to present. If they don't have a presentation, that's fine. Judges will just start with questions. If you have a 10-minute presentation, the judges will probably cut you off at 5 minutes and then go into questions, because in this 15 minutes, they have to get as much information as they can from your team to be able to assess what awards you're going to be eligible for, what additional information they want to look for. So they need to have time to ask questions and dig a little deeper on some of the things that you might have touched on in your presentation. Robot and field inspections. Again, the thing to really emphasize with teams is that inspectors are not looking for ways to disqualify robots. Exactly the opposite. They're looking for safety hazards or possibility reliability issues that may fail during robot runs. They're obviously also ensuring that robots follow the rules, but if there's something wrong with your robot, somewhere where a rule isn't followed or something is as hazard, they will work very hard to either help you fix it, to find another team that can help you fix it, to find another person that can help you fix it. Their goal really is to make sure that all robots can run. Obviously, you showed up there. We want every robot to be able to compete, and we will work as hard as possible to get that to happen. Team drivers meeting with the referees. As I said, referees will explain details about how things run, rule updates, and the match schedule will be distributed at that time. No one will know what the match schedule is before that time, because officially all teams have to pass inspections before we can generate the match schedule. And then the match schedule does not actually have times on it, just the order of matches. So you will have to keep track of kind of what match is currently running to be on time for yours. We'll have queuers there who will help get that done. In the pit area, we'll have match results being displayed, so you'll kind of know what's going on. But you're responsible for kind of getting to your match when it's that time. Matches will start after opening ceremonies and run until lunch. And then in FTC, you take a hard lunch break, 12 to 1. Pretty much everybody takes a break. All the volunteers, all the teams, all the coaches. And I assume teams will be working on stuff, but they should also have a chance to relax, talk with other teams, and just take it easy for a little bit. Then everything will kick off again at 1. Matches will resume, and this is when pit judging occurs. So groups of judges will be visiting teams in the pit areas and asking follow-up questions, things they wanted more information on. Some people call this finalist judging, but it's more than that, because it's also for teams that may not be winning an award, but there was something that the judges just wanted more information on. So all teams should be visited by judges during this time period to ask questions and answer questions. Obviously, match play takes precedence. If you match coming up, just tell the judges and they'll return later, but try and make yourself available in the pit whenever you're not actively competing. So don't hang around the performance area and watch the next 2 matches after yours and then one more, and then all of a sudden you're up for queuing again. They have a limited amount of time to find all the teams in the pits that they want to talk to. And it's really the only chance judges have to follow up on their morning interviews and get more information. If adults are in the pit area, parents and coaches and mentors, when the judges approach, you should really step back and let the judges interact with the team members there. Just so that they have a chance to ask the team what they have. The team can explain and answer the questions without worrying about you guys being there. Just take a couple steps back and sit back and watch what goes on and listen to it. But this is very important to try and be in the pit whenever you can, because that's the judges have a hard time finding all the teams with all the matches going. And so it's very important when you have the opportunity to be back there in your pit and be able to answer questions. Okay, matches run through the afternoon. The finalist alliance selection process then goes on sometime between 3 and 4, whenever qualifier matches are completed. This is listed in the game manual. It's a way to select kind of finalists, and there's a very kind of rigorous selection process that goes on. It's explained in the manual. Our MC will explain it ahead of time also how it goes. If you're a rookie team and really don't know anything about scouting or this alliance selection or anything, When you get there, ask some experienced team about it, and they will be glad to explain it to you and maybe even help you through with some of the stuff as we get on that. And again, this is for after the match play, the alliance selection, and moving on into the semifinals and finals. We'll then run matches with the alliance teams that have been selected and complete those and get finalists in that. And then we'll have our award ceremony. We don't have teams come down to do the high five line anymore. We're keeping away from that still. Results from the tournament will be available the next day on the first site, and we will have the award descriptions and the paragraphs that were written about the award winners up on our website in a couple of days. Are there any questions about the tournament day as we have it? That's kind of the tournament day, what you're doing. So any questions on that?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can tell me a little bit more about the size of the pit. We have a lot of parents on our team. Will we fit in the pit? I've been to a lot of FRC matches where we would not have, but anyway, I don't know what size it is. And I'm wondering if anyone has particular advice about, or if you have any information about where we can go for our lunch.
Sure. So the pit areas, normally there's about a 10-foot by 10-foot area defined for each team. So it's not necessarily a place that, all your parents can hang out all day. They may want to sit up in the stands and that. Normally a team has, a table that they're going to be building and making changes and working on, maybe another small table with part of their posters or description of what they've done. If they've gone past tournaments, medals, and things like that they want to show off. A couple chairs around there. It's not really a place where, 10 people are going to be sitting all day. For lunch, sites offer concessions. There'll be a concession stand active at every tournament. So in Burnsville, the Burnsville Robotic Club will have their concession stand open, and we'll have a variety of foods there. You can go out if you want, but we try and encourage teams to support the local robotics club. And same thing up at Otsego if you're in the league qualifier. They will have a concession stand up there that Northwest Robotics is putting on. They are the tournament directors for that, so they basically help set up, and at Burnsville Robotics teams help set up and do a lot of the other jobs of queuing and helping out throughout both days of the tournament. So as tournament directors, they run a concession stand, and then to get to keep the money that is to help support their program.
Thank you.
Yep. If there are no other questions, I'm just going to move on with a couple of things here. A couple of more things that teams can do. And it's getting toward the end of the year, so this may not be possible to do anymore, but the High Tech Kids Purple Gear Award is an award we have for FTC teams in Minnesota as an outreach award. Where not only outreaching to their community and other teams in that, but they help high tech kids with our outreach and our events. So they need to participate in 3 high tech kids events, and then at least 3 outreach events in their own community. Document that. Add those accomplishments in their portfolio, and submit an application on our website, and we'll approve those on a rolling basis as we look through it. And they receive a certificate and a 3D printed trophy, the High Tech Kids Purple Gear Award. So it's for teams that, normally have been around a little bit longer and are able to participate in things. Examples of things: the state fair teams, we have state fairs. We will do other demos and things like that throughout the year, and we'll ask for FTC teams to come and help us with that. Our kickoff in the fall, the teams that provided kickoff sessions, all the information sessions along with kickoff, that could count as one of your High Tech Kids events for the Purple Gear Award. So far, these 4 teams have already won Purple Gear Awards for this year. And I actually just saw another submission from a team about a half an hour ago. So there'll be another team that we'll review, and if they meet the requirements, will then also achieve the Purple Gear Award from us for the year. Additionally, so that's kind of a team sport. Additionally, individuals can self-nominate themselves for the Stratasys scholarships. We have a number of scholarships sponsored by Stratasys in different categories: coding, engineering, 3D printing, project leadership. Students must be a member of a Minnesota FTC team in the 10th or 11th grade. Deadline for submission is January 15th, so that's coming up pretty soon. Each winner is awarded a $250 scholarship, and they just have to do an online essay. They have to fill out a little essay on what they did in one of these categories. And it's on our website. You can go to High Tech Kids, FTC, and then a yellow thing on the side is scholarships and awards. And there's a little button there then for purple gear. There's one for Stratasys scholarships, and it'll get the whole award for you. And in this case, the nomination paperwork and everything that the student needs to do that. So please consider doing that if you have students that have excelled in any of these categories. And these winners will again be announced at state. And speaking of state, this year's state's going to be a little bit different. State is at the River Center. So for teams that have been in the past, we're no longer at Washington Tech School in St. Paul. We're down at the River Center and the Roy Wilkins Auditorium. It's going to be quite an amazing event down there. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be quite different than just in a high school. So anyway, as far as the teams advancing to state, there are only 3 teams advancing from Burnsville from Saturday and 3 teams from Sunday. And you go, wow, only 3 teams. But you have to realize that most teams have competed already. And as it turns out, teams competing at Burnsville, 14 have already advanced. So those teams you're not competing with. There would be 3 new teams named, or six new teams across the weekend named for advancing to state. The league qualifier, because they only have 1 chance to advance, I believe there are 7 teams advancing on Saturday and 6 on Sunday. The numbers are so large there because the leagues, the number of league teams that are competing in Minnesota is a little more than a quarter of the total Minnesota teams that competed. So they have a little more than a quarter. They have 13 of the 48 slots available for state. So again, league teams only have 1 chance to advance, so that's why we advance more teams from them based on the percentage of teams in each of the formats. In any case, state tournament is a 2-day event for teams that will be advancing. Judging, inspections, and a practice round are Friday evening, so that's kind of the normal qualifier kind of morning. And then Saturday is qualifying matches all day long, starting bright and early in the morning. Alliance selection, and then finalist, of course, and then pit judging also on Saturday, and a big award ceremony at the end of the day. If you're interested in volunteering, I'd love to have volunteers. If you have judged or refed already this season with High Tech Kids, let me know and we can work you in. Even if your team advances to state, we can probably use you in some form if you feel you can do that. Obviously, you won't be judging your team or judging teams that would be competing with your teams. And we will very soon be putting out a sign-up genius for other roles, more general roles that are needed at state tournament as well. Anyway, whether you make it or not, please feel free to come. We think it's going to be a grand event on the 10th and 11th of February down there. Okay. So that's kind of what I have for FTC. Of course, as volunteer coordinator, I have to put in my shameless plug of recruiting judges and referees. If you know anybody or reached out to companies and they seemed interested in the program, please get them in touch with us. We'd love to have more volunteers. Literally, the number of teams and tournaments that we can support is now limited by the number of volunteers we can get. We're really pushing the edge of the number of teams we can support because of the volunteers and tournaments we need. So we'd really love to grow our volunteer pool. It's a fun group of people. It's really a good thing to do. Coaches and parents make our best volunteers. And if you compete on Saturday, then you can come back and volunteer on Sunday. that'd be wonderful. We have a number of people that do that. A lot of our volunteers are coaches or former coaches and parents. All right. So that's really what I had for you this evening. If you have any other questions, please unmute and ask now, or put something in the chat and we will handle that. Anything else? If not, thank you guys for coming this evening and joining me. Good luck either not this weekend, at Burnsville or at Otsego. And we hope to see you all there. And then hope to see a number of you at State as well. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you so much for this session.
Mm-hmm.